Good evening and welcome into the Joe Dickey Electric Scoreboard. Week 2 of the high school football season in the books. Mike Ackelson here with my man Anthony riding shotgun tonight. And week 2 was not kind to two defending state champions.
No, not at all.
And we commented Canfield, tough game. Mansfield Senior, they fall in that one 24-14, but it was South Range losing to Green at home 21-7. The last time I remember South Range trailing in a game and yet losing a game, you have to go all the way back to the 2021 season, and it's the regional championship game at Kirtland. And so then the playoff game.
How much further would you have to go back to say at home? Probably the Niles game they lost in the 88 back in 19.
I want to say.
Or was that in Niles?
I want to say there may have been in 2021, one of the teams got an early score on them in the playoff.
Okay.
But that was it.
Yeah.
And like from that point on, it was all South Range.
We made the joke at halftime. Like, this might be the first time in Audible Call history, because we don't do the deep playoff runs at Audible Call, that we're not shying away from South Range in the second half because it's a blowout. So
yeah, normally they're up big, and not that we were joking, but it was just it's one of those comments when you looked at me and you said, "Hey, when's the last time like we had to really key in on a South Range game in that?" And it's a tough loss for him, but it's one that Coach Rock's going to be able to build from, teach these guys. I think they'll be better for it.
Not making any excuses, and they won't either. But there were so many distractions going on in South Range this week too, because it was the unveiling of their brand new, upgrades to their facility, and they were doing so much for the stadium. And when there's a lot going on like that, you welcome in a team that's so unfamiliar with Green out of the Federal League. Things can go a little bit sour that way.
Well, they can. And you know what, though? Coach won't use that as an excuse.
Not at all.
Not at all. I mean, first-class person, everything about him is first class. I can guarantee you he'll probably be digging into that film here probably before midnight.
And they have the same message that Springfield had last week when they lost to South Range. It's one game.
Yeah.
It's to a really, really good Green team. You relax. You still have the NE8 right in front of you. You focus on the last non-conference game next week, and then you go into NE8 play.
Yeah, and it's exactly what you got to do. You got to put this one behind you. You got to forget about it. You got to learn from it, but you got to forget about it real quick. So let's take a look at some of the scores. We're waiting for a couple of our guys to hop on with us. Archbishop Hoban goes up to Erie Cathedral Prep. This was a ball game throughout the first half, but the second half was all Hoban as they pull away 44-12. Love this scoreboard here that we got now at YSN. Beaver Local goes to Salem, and they knock off the Quakers. Quakers have lost both games this season, and both have been on their home turf. 41-20 the final. Camel falling to Louisville tonight, 33-14. Central Valley, in a last-second touchdown, two-point conversion, they beat Austintown Fitch 36-35, and I can guarantee you things are not sitting well with TJ Parker, because it appeared that Fitch had that game in hand.
Yeah, and then there were a couple of times where Central Valley might be making a game out of this, and then Fitch would answer. And it looked like they had control of it, like you said, but Central Valley, they had it. And speaking of that game, I think Ty Bartell's popping on. I see his name, and
there he is.
I mean, Ty in the dark, looking like the Blair Witch.
I'm just getting home. I'm just getting home. Let me pull into the driveway. I'll throw some lights on so everyone could see. But man, it was a heartbreaker out at Greenwood tonight, man.
Absolutely, Ty. The thing is, started the fourth quarter, I'm like, okay, Fitch got this, and then all of a sudden, Central Valley just refused to go away.
And you know what? First and foremost, I want to pay my due diligence to the Central Valley crowd, the coaching staff, all the people that they brought with them today. Nothing but the utmost hospitality, nothing but great people all the way around. And that is a damn good football team over there in Central Valley. And really, Mike, you saw in that second half, they came out with that triple option set, and Fitch was struggling to find answers for it. Sometimes they were slowing it down, but they weren't slowing it down enough. They were still able to get first downs, and that the execution of plays on that last drive by Central Valley was almost perfection from first snap to the last.
Did you ever doubt that they would go for two?
No, I didn't. I think with Central Valley, this being week 0 for them, and they still have a whole regular season in front of them. I don't think extra football is what they're looking for in that situation. I think no doubt if they got the touchdown, they were going for 2, and they were living with the result.
Well, everything was clicking for them. Their momentum was on their side. Pitch hadn't stopped them that whole drive. It seemed like every play they ran. The only one I remember they had an incompletion, and the kid was wide open. The quarterback just overshot him.
And triple options offenses aren't known for their passing anyway, so I'm sure they're not too bent up out of shape out of an incomplete pass.
Yeah.
Everything
Ty
you-
froze.
There was everything you could want, though, in this football game. Good defensive stops, big plays from both teams, and at the end of the day, a point better with Central Valley on the scoreboard. But I tell you what, guys, give me that matchup every year and twice on Sundays going forward, because I love seeing those two teams square off.
Well, it's two good programs. I know a lot about Central Valley. I mean, they're from Western Pennsylvania, perennial District 7 team that knocks on a championship door every year in that district, if not the state. And when I saw that matchup, and a lot of people were like, I saw some things, on the internet, like, oh, Fitch will have no problem. I'm like going, don't count those eggs before those chickens lay them, because that Central Valley team's going to come to play.
And honestly, when you talk with a lot of coaches too, I feel like a lot of coaches will tell you too, Mike, in this part of the season, you'd rather a loss happen now than later in the season where you have to start figuring stuff out and you're scrambling. The good thing is it's only week 2. Fitch has a lot of time to figure out what went wrong in this game. And Coach Parker, I know I wouldn't want to be at that next practice if I'm any of those Falcons going forward with how the defense let that one go in the 4th.
He might be another coach that's in that game film very early tonight, and probably just tearing it apart. And he's going to be harder on himself than he is on the kids.
And it's one of those, he's a perfectionist, and that's what he expects from the kids. I wouldn't be surprised if it's one of those nights where it's like, all right, we're going to take this to the next practice or next film watching session. We're going to watch it, and then we're going to burn it together, because I never want to see that 4th quarter play out again. But for Fitch, they had some bright spots. They looked good at spots, but other spots, again, defense was struggling, especially in that 4th quarter. Some big plays that they let get away from them. But for Austintown, it's one of those cases where it's something to work on and improve on going forward. And that's what I'm going to be looking for week 3.
Let's talk about some of those bright spots. DJ Williams, oh my word, he's running like he's mad at the ground.
He's one of those guys where it feels like every defensive line feels like they're going to have an answer for them. And then he starts running against you. And then you realize that it's not as easy bringing that bulldog down as it may look. As 3 touchdown performance again, he did what he's done his entire career. He sets the tone, man. He really makes it hurt when you have to tackle him, and it makes you think about tackling him once the game gets later in the stages, 3rd and 4th quarter. He had a great game tonight. Also, shout out Dan Evans, the 3rd on the defensive side. Interception, some big 4th down stops. Unfortunately, wasn't Fitch's way tonight, but shout out Central Valley. They played a whale of a game and put together a heck of a last second drive.
Yeah, Dave Sherrick on the Facebook comment says Central Valley just works harder than anyone. Great job, CV. So that's someone that's either rooting for CV or familiar with CV. So we thank you.
A lot of CV fans there. They're passionate fans, man. They're passionate fans too. I know I definitely want to see a CV Aliquippa game now after the crowd they brought.
Hey, you may get it some year. All I know is there's no quitting that team. I've seen them play for several years, and absolutely no quit. And I don't think Fitch took their foot off the gas pedal. I just think in the end, Central Valley made more plays.
And they don't make it easy on themselves. They scheduled tough this entire season. This isn't just a 1 week, let's get up and get rowdy for Central Valley. It's all right. We can't let this become a landslide now. We're 1-1 now. We're back to square one now with an 8-week season in front of us. 7 for Fitch, technically. Let's see what we can do in these last 7 games.
There you go. So, hey, we appreciate you stopping in. At least you weren't filling up the car with gas or having to stop at Taco Bell or anything.
I know. I didn't have to. I didn't have to stop at Sunoco today. Just a short drive back to Mom's house. So we're gonna go see the mother and the wife. But yeah, great talking with you guys too, and look forward to watching the rest of the show.
All right, buddy. Thank you. Good guy. I love the fact that he calls in every week, win or loss. We can always count on Ty. Just a great guy.
And a little bit more about that. I think when we saw Central Valley go into that triple option, and anyone that knows football knows that that triple option can be an equalizer. I mean, if you're maybe not the same in talent wise and you run that triple option, it can really even the odds. And it makes your defense have to be locked down with your, assignment football, and make sure you're keying in on your assignment, and not, using your eyes to be faked out. And it's a hard offense to adjust to, especially when they do it on the fly in the middle of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And just some great in-game adjustments there by Central Valley. Probably the game of the night from a battle of local teams had to be Columbiana and McDonald. This game went right down to the wire. 21-14, Drew Zajac with a 60-yard touchdown. Jordan Perry a 1-yard touchdown running that one. This was a fantastic game. And I'll tell you what, it's hard to believe that Columbiana's 0-2. McDonald's 2-0. McDonald starts the year with 2 fourth-quarter wins.
Yeah, and 2 wins against EOAC opponents. And this is a McDonald team that had a tough season last year, had a tough last couple of years. But, they're a program that's always good. They're one of those programs that has a lot of winning tradition, and I knew they weren't going to stay down for long. There's no way with Coach Williams down there doing what he's doing.
He is not going to let that happen. So, but and I can guarantee if any program is going to bounce back, it will be Columbiana. Bob Spade does not take kindly to L's.
They're right there, and once again, like we said with South, these losses hurt, but they're non-conference. You still have the whole EOAC under your belt, and plenty of opportunities to go out there and win a conference still for Columbiana.
Crestview even their record tonight, 38-6. Southern beat Crestview tonight, 38-6. The Indians look good. Oh, did they look?
They looked
good.
Angry.
Yes.
It was just one of the.
Yeah, they came out and were like, "We're going to win this game," and they had a really nice football game. Another great game was Lisbon and Fairport Harding. The Blue Devils coming away with a 14-6 win over Fairport Harding. Gotta like that one. Very nice win for Coach Alton.
Lisbon having a good start to the season. Looking good, looking like they can win a handful of games and maybe put themselves in that conversation at the end of the year of a possible playoff spot down there in the lower divisions.
Yeah, absolutely. And the big thing now is get these wins early, build confidence, and it can only make you get better. Girard, wow. That's a rivalry game, and they wasted no time. They let Liberty know they were the big brother tonight, 49-7 in that one. The Indians, 2-0 on the season. They look good.
I've said this a couple times on Running Point this week. Girard, it might be the fastest team on the YSN network. They have just track stars up and down that offense. And if you let them run and let them spread you out, you're going to have a long day on defense. And that's 2 straight games where their offense has just put up monstrous numbers.
Speaking of another game that was lopsided, how about Edgewood over Grand Valley? They put up 55 in that one, and the defense pitches the shutout. So big game for them. South Range, as we showed you earlier, they lose to Green, 21-7. Tough one for them. Hubbard all over Greenville tonight. Garland Warren had 3 touchdowns. Hackwalder, 227 yards passing, 75 yards rushing, and 2 TDs on the ground. All Hubbard over Greenville, who played their first game of the year, 35-7.
And it's nice for the Eagles' offense to start getting rolling. We saw their defense win their game last week against East 10-6. It was the defensive battle. We said, what can their offense do? Can they help the defense out? If they score like this all year with the defense they have on the field, then I mean, I don't think you're going to score 35 on Hubbard this year.
I did not think after last week there's no way that Hubbard's offense was going to struggle. I'm sure, there was a lot of film. Right. There was a lot of back to the drawing board. There was a lot of soul searching among the coaches and that offensive unit. Like, hey, we've got to be better. And this was a good test for them to get better, playing a good team like Greenville. East Liverpool, they're a winner tonight, 27-7. Paul Cusick, pretty good start for his error down there.
I'd say so. That's a 2-0 start, and that's a much better team. In Indian Creek, the level went up from last week when they played a Minerva team that, quite frankly, just struggles for football right now.
Yeah.
Indian Creek's a team that has kind of have been a pretty solid football program the last several years, and in East Liverpool at home takes care of business. That's a big win for the Potters to prove that last week wasn't just a product of who they were playing.
Yeah, and then you move along. Jackson Milton, no problem with Newton Falls tonight, 47-14. Good bounce back, for the Blue Jays. And boy, they came to Newton Falls and they made quick work of the Tigers.
And what they did really well is they controlled Newton Falls' run game. Newton Falls is one of the teams, and like many others that we'll talk about, they love to run the ball. They run the ball really well. Jackson Milton stopped the run tonight, and that's step one. And then offense, obviously, if a running team is behind by more than 2 scores, they're going to have a hard time coming back. So Jackson Milton did a good job setting the tone and then playing good run defense to make sure Newton Falls didn't get any momentum going forward.
Notre Dame Cathedral Latin played Lakeside, and it was Notre Dame Cathedral Latin winning that one 38-8. That's a perennial power here in Northeast Ohio. I mean, we know them every year.
Yeah, they come out of Chardon, and like many of the Catholic schools that we see in our area, they play a really, really tough schedule every year. They're geared up to play upper division teams, even though they're not a huge school. I think Division 4 in football, if I'm not mistaken. So they're not overly big, but they play a lot of big teams. They're ready for big boy football, and they proved it tonight.
How about Lakeview, 2-0 to start the season? They go up to Jefferson. Not an easy place to go on the road and play, but they go up to Jefferson tonight, 32-13. The Bulldogs flexing their muscles early.
They're taking care. I think they saw the start and the spark that last year's football season had, where they got off to a really strong non-conference schedule, and then they kind of lost steam in the 8. So they're trying to do the same thing this year, build momentum into that conference play, and then maybe take the next step and win a couple of conference games this year.
And Middle Ridge traveled over to Orange tonight, and the Rams, they're going to start the season 2-0. Orange's first loss of the season, but
not as dramatic this week for them.
No, the Rams did not have to wait until the very end to come away with that one. So, I mean, you look at things and you're just like, okay, good job. And so far through 2 weeks, the Rams have passed the test both times.
How about we had a comment on the Facebook about Edgewood, just congratulations to Edgewood, but their offense, that's 2 straight games, 50-plus points, and their defense hasn't given up a point yet.
Yeah, and that's, like I say, those are things that you build on each week. And each week, that defensive unit now is going to sit there. Can we do it 3 weeks? Can we get it done for the 3rd week? Because,
it's going to be a letdown when they let someone score now.
Yeah, and they're going to be so mad if it's like a fluke safety, where those first 2 points come from, even though that doesn't technically.
Or like a long field goal.
Yeah, it doesn't technically count, I think, against the defense if it's a special teams, but that could be one where you'll just be like, and it might make them matter. Moving along, Niles went to Alliance. This game was back and forth for a while. In the end, the Aviators pull it out. They come out with the win 45-28. And then Poland, boy, these Bulldogs are for real. Oh, my. If you want to watch a good quarterback, watch Pagano, their quarterback.
Yeah.
My gosh, can that kid play?
And then they have a good backfield. Fulton in the backfield. Yeah. They're a great running team, and a lot of teams in the Wyaston family are. But Poland, everyone's been talking the offseason that this was a year where they were going to take the next step. And 19 seniors, I think, on that roster. Mm-hmm. They're showing it.
And both their wins are on the road. So you go out and you flex your muscles that way. I think the thing that I've been impressed with so far, yes, I know Pagano's good. Yes, I know the backs are good. But, boy, the lines, defense and offensive lines, have played very well for the Bulldogs. So shout out to them. That is a great way to start the season as they start probably already looking towards week 3. Speaking of another shutout tonight, Rittman all over Wyndham, 52-0 as they come away with the victory in that one. And a team that bounced back after last week. Everybody's like, oh, South Range went into Springfield. Springfield went up to Brookfield tonight and proved it. That was just a week one. They forgot about what happened, and boy, they took care of business up on the Warriors' turf, 42-7. The Tigers' defense was outstanding. Their offense was outstanding and very opportunistic.
Yeah, just like Southern, I think Springfield was just an angry football team this week, and Brookfield picked the worst week possible to have Springfield pop up on their schedule.
There was no way the Tigers were starting 0-2 2 years in a row. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind. Sean Guerrero was convinced that this was not going to go, that script was going to be rewritten the same way.
And Brookfield's one of those teams that has to find a new identity. They lost so much really, really great talent from last year, especially Donovan Pawlowski, their quarterback, their Mr. Do Everything. So Brookfield is a team that right now just trying to find a new identity with a lot of new faces on that team.
Yeah, they're just still finding their way, and it's still early enough that they can right that ship very easily.
Springfield started out 0-4 last year, and they almost knocked Warren JFK out of the playoffs. So
absolutely,
that's a testament to anyone that if you get off to a slow start, you're not done by any means.
Toronto goes to East Palestine, comes away with a 48-0 win over the Bulldogs. Toronto special teams, offense, turnovers, defense was fantastic. Just an all-around good game for Toronto tonight. And we move along. Uniontown Lake heads into Boardman. They win that one 42-31 over the Spartans.
0-2 is 0-2, and they're going to say that, but Boardman had a lot of better things happen this week.
Well, they had some opportunities in this game. It was actually, down to one score in the fourth quarter. They just could not get the defensive stop that they needed. So, that's the way that one bounces. Ursuline goes on the road, and let's see. You open up the season with a win against Steubenville Big Red. Now Padua gets added to that list. And just like that, Dan Reardon's team is 2-0. They came out of the gates. They looked like an angry team.
Yeah, and they didn't have any reason to be angry. They were 1-0, but hey, you find a way to put that chip on your shoulder no matter what it takes, and they definitely did that really well.
Yeah, I just thought that was a tremendous game. Waterloo shuts out Latonia 21-0, but a little shout out to the Bears. I think the Bears are playing a lot tougher. They went through just a meat grinder last year. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. They're playing tough. Waterloo, hats off to them. They come in, they get the job done, so they come away with a win. Tough night for Wellsville. They get shut out by Weirton Madonna 32-0. Another great game. It was Western Reserve beating Conneaut 28-24. And then Canfield losing to Mansfield Senior 24-14. East all over Cleveland Shaw 58-0. And Wycliffe beat Ashtabula St. John 48-12. West Branch, a winner over Woodrich 34-13. Pie Valley over Cardinal 28-13. And Geneva beat Struthers 31-22. The only one we don't have a final yet on is Cardinal Mooney.
Yeah, we got an update in the third quarter. This was the last update I could find, and they were having a tough night. It was 34-14 in the late in the third quarter down there at YSU.
Well, the thing, and that was one we weren't expecting that.
Yeah, it got moved to and I think probably because YSU wanted to honor their first state champions from 1973 on YSU's field where they used to play their home games, and they wanted to make that a special moment. So they moved the game back to tonight so they could do that. But yeah, like you said, we didn't see that coming.
Yeah. Well, I can update you. A friend of mine just texted me. He says,
perfect timing.
47-21 Cardinal Mooney Falls.
Thank you, friend.
In this one. So every now and then I get a friend that texts me. So that worked out well. But I'll tell you what, I think when I look back at this week, things that surprised me, Fitch's defense not making the adjustment that they needed to make in the second half against Central Valley, but it's just one game, and it's something that they can improve on. Those are fixable things. Impressive. McDonald 2-0.
2-0.
Two fourth quarter is where they've got it out. So this tells me that Dan Williams has that team in shape. They know they're going to play 48 minutes. They know they're going to have to be ready. I like that showing from the team. Poland, as we mentioned earlier, I just think the Bulldogs, wow.
How about Louisville? I mean, we circled that game and said, what are they gonna? How are they gonna not bounce back, but respond to a really high emotional game? Sometimes there could be a letdown. They were playing a team in Campbell that played really good defense last week. Won 33-0 last week. Campbell did. So it was going to be an interesting game. But Louisville comes into Campbell and takes care of the Red Devils, and maybe Louisville isn't missing too much of a beat from last year.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, shoes to fill there, but I think there was kids waiting in the wing that they want to prove that, hey, it just wasn't a flash in the pan, a 1 year thing, 2 year thing, even though we know Louisville's been good for the last 3-4 years. But I think these kids were waiting in the wing that's saying, hey, it's our turn now. There's a tradition. Let's build on it. East Liverpool, they're 2-0 to start the season. They've found ways to win. I don't know. Is there anybody here that kind of has jumped out at you and surprised you? Is there anybody that maybe has disappointed you through 2 weeks, Anthony?
Not surprised. I mean, I'm not shocked that Beaver Local bounced back from the tough week last week and got a win over Salem. Salem looked better. There are teams that took a loss that have made a little bit of improvements. Hubbard, I think Hubbard is my biggest surprise, not just of the night, but a lot of people were kind of down on Hubbard in the preseason. They lost even more seniors this year and last year. So Hubbard just saying we can win in different ways. We can win a defensive game 10-6. We can go out there and put up 35 points on offense if we have to. So Hubbard looks pretty impressive too. That NE8 is starting to shape up into being really tough, like it always is. South Range is still good. Gerard's offense is rolling on all cylinders. Poland's playing well. Hubbard's playing well. Lakeview's playing well. Yeah. Struthers lost tonight, but they're still a formidable team that can sneak up on you.
Yeah, absolutely.
That NE8.
Probably another team, Beaver Local. They scored over 30 points in a home opening loss to Struthers. They go on the road and put 41 on Salem. And maybe it's not the same Salem team we've seen the last few years, and they're still finding their way. But this Beaver Local team, I thought that was a good way. You lose your home opener, but boy, you go on the road and they made a statement down there.
I did not have Edgewood leading the YSN family in offense through 2 weeks on my bingo card, but that's where we are. 2 straight weeks with 50-plus points. They're rolling.
You know who would is our guy in the 440.
Sam Torres.
Sam would absolutely say, I told you guys.
I told you guys. These Ashley Bueller kids are built different, man.
Yeah. And East, I know they're 1-1, but a heartbreaking loss. Their bounce back from that last week. They gave Hubbard everything they could handle. They forced Hubbard into a lot of mistakes, just could not come out on the right end of that scoreboard. And then this week when they host Cleveland Shaw, just took care of business from the get-go. I think it was 24-0 in the first quarter, if I remember right, or 22-0, I believe. But they got to jump out pretty good. Just some things I'm seeing. Tough loss for Niles. They go on the road for the first time. And that Alliance team, boy, that is a tough place to play. So,
by the way, I'm looking at the scoreboard all night. Want to remind everybody that it is presented by Burnett Pools and Hot Tubs. We thank them for sponsoring the YSN scoreboard that helps us out so much doing the Audible Call. Wouldn't be able to do it without the presenting sponsor of that YSN scoreboard. If you're out there and watching live games, whether it be on Friday nights or during the week, make sure to check out that scoreboard for live updates on all the games going on the network around you.
Let's take a break and then we'll be back and we'll run through the scores again. Welcome back to the Joe Dickey Electric Scoreboard. And Mike Ackelson here with Anthony Hartwig as we are running down week 2 scores here. And, we're talking about some of the games. We'll just run through the scores one more time here for you. It was Archbishop Hoban going over to Erie, Pennsylvania, and beating Cathedral Prep 44-12. Beaver Local goes to Salem 41-20 as they even their record at 1-1. Lowville now 2-0 with a 33-14 win over Camel. Fitch losing a heartbreaker in the final seconds, 36-35 to Central Valley. Central Valley goes for 2. They decide let's play for the win and not to tie late to go to overtime. McDonald 2-0, 21-14 as they beat Columbiana. Southern, no problem with Crestview as they win 38-6. Lisbon wins a thriller over Fairport Harding 14-6. Girard, no problem with Liberty 49-7. Ashtabula Edgewood, they are putting up lots of points so far through 2 weeks as they shut out Grand Valley 55-0. Green beats South Range 21-7. Hubbard 35-7 over Greenville. East Liverpool perfect on the season 27-7 as they knock off Indian Creek. It is Jackson Milton over Newton Falls 47-14. Notre Dame Cathedral Latin defeats Lakeside 38-8. Lakeview over Jefferson 32-13. Middle Ridge on the road, they win 49-14 over Orange. Alliance 45-28 over Niles. Poland blanks Hallen 41-0. Wyndham gets shut out by Rittman 52-0. Springfield 42-7 over Brookfield. Toronto 48-0 over East Palestine. Lake beats Boardman 42-31. Ursuline 38-7 winner over Padua. Latonia falls to Waterloo 21-0. Weirton Madonna 32. It is Wellsville 0. East beats Cleveland Shaw 58-0. Canfield goes on the road. They lose to Mansfield Senior 24-14. And then Conneaut falls to Western Reserve 28-24. Villangela St. Joe's defeats Cardinal Mooney 47-21. Wycliffe 48-12 over Ashtabula St. John. West Branch over Woodridge 34-13. Pie Valley 28, Cardinal 13, Geneva 31, and Struthers 22. So that's a rundown of all the scores here brought to you on our beautiful scoreboard, as you said, presented by Burnett Pools, Spas, and Hot Tubs. They got it all. If you need something, just contact them, www.burnettpools.com. So, I mean, it's big. I just think we've set ourselves up through 2 weeks. Yeah, we got some blowouts. Yes, there were shutouts tonight.
There's always going to be your blowouts. You
Yeah.
know, I don't think have we ever gone a week without a blowout?
We've never had a week where they were all 17-14 games.
Right.
So we know that's going to happen. But there was 6 shutouts tonight. Those 6 defensive game plans were perfect.
And another last-second win. It didn't fall our way this time, but that's 2 straight weeks where we have a last-play walk-off victory.
Yeah, and I'm thinking we're getting overtime there. And then just the way I saw Central drive down the field on Fitch, I'm thinking they're going for 2. They got all the momentum.
And
every play except that one incompleted pass. But maybe they were setting something up with it.
Ty brought up a good point too. It was week 0, so they didn't want to play extra football. They wanted to get out of Dodge and just say, hey, let's try to win here. They were moving the ball. They probably felt pretty confident in their ability to punch it in for 2 yards. And props to them. Like we said, they didn't quit. And you know a lot about their program, and they're a hard-working group, and they didn't back down from being down in the game by quite a bit. Central
Valley is a program. They expect to make deep runs in the WPIAL, which is District 7, but they actually expect to make runs for a PIAA state championship every year. That is an blueprint. That's the way they set that up. And since those schools have all merged into Central Valley, it has been just one common goal. Let's go get a state championship. So it's never going to change there. And it makes for good football. And I'm like, Ty, I agree. If Fitch and Central Valley want to play every year, I'm down for it. Bring it on.
Every day and twice on Sunday, as Ty Bartolo said.
Yeah, absolutely. But, I look, next week, for most teams, it's the final final test before league play starts.
Right.
And you look at that, and for some teams, you want to get through there 3-0. For other teams, 2-1 might be perfect because you learned a lot from that one loss. And even if you're 0-3 after next week, there's still time to turn it around.
Absolutely. And like we said, a couple of teams, this is a week where it sucks that you lost, but the league is wide open. It hasn't even started yet. It's right in front of you. And those teams that did lose this week, we're talking Canfield. Well, I know Canfield's not really in a conference in football, but we're talking South Range. We're talking who's the other team that lost? Didn't expect to. We're talking about we were saying, hey, the conference is right in front of them.
So, well, South Range and
South Range and
oh boy, you got me on
I
that.
know. I was
drew a
like,
blank. I was
either
looking
way,
at it earlier.
point is, all these teams, whether they lost or won today, they have a lot of work to do still. We're in week 2. This is kind of the fun part of the season where you find yourself. It's quote unquote preseason, even though the games count, and then you really start to test yourself against your conference opponents through weeks 4 through 10.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those are things that you've just got to move forward. You got to improve. The biggest thing too, you want to get through your first 2 weeks relatively healthy.
Right.
There's going to be bumps and bruises, but you don't want to lose a couple starters on your line or key offensive threats or defensive guys that make plays. If you get through that and you can improve, that's one thing every coach will tell you, that they want to head into that, and that'll be the right way to attack it.
Absolutely. And man, here we are, week 3 coming on us. Do you have any games looking a little bit ahead in week 3 that you're already looking at?
Off
the top of your head?
I would have to sit down and study it. Like, I've been tunnel vision myself. That I've only been looking 1 week at a time. Just, I got a lot of things going on other than football that I'm doing. And so I tunnel vision like 1 week at a time. This year is the way I've been kind of.
Hey, you're doing it just like a football coach, right? We're not looking ahead. We're doing what we should be doing.
Trust me, I'll start to peak. Things actually start to slow down in my life right here after Labor Day, roughly. So, it gives me a little more time. I'll spend a lot of time on the computer looking up, trying to find some interesting stats and things that I can bring to the Audible Call. And I love our new digs here at the Athletics. That is one thing I can say. This place is awesome. I'm still getting used to it. I don't have my green football field out there in front of me. I don't have a goalpost behind me. Or
you use that as your mark.
Yeah. I don't have Michael Jordan standing off to my side cheering me on. So, but I love this place. It is fantastic. Everything that DJ and Brian and all the crew has done, Steve and Siggy, these guys are working their tails off. And I know you're working your tail off. Everybody thinks, oh, it's a one-night thing. It's Friday night. No, it's not. Anthony Hartwig is literally writing stories all weekend, posting stuff all weekend, trying to get as much content onto the website as possible. And then there's volleyball for you.
Volleyball and soccer.
Golf. Everything just doesn't dictate around Friday. But you wrap coaches' shows into this, and it's everything that YSN stands for. Let's push the envelope. Let's get as much publicity as we can for the student athletes. And, because one guy asked me, he goes, oh, you just show up on Friday night and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, the first couple of weeks this year I did. But I'll be into my groove once we get past Labor Day.
Right.
So, but I just I love this new place. And I know we've had a few bumps in the road while we're doing Audible Call, but we'll get them straightened out for you as quickly as possible. And this was your week 1, your first chance to come here. And
I love it. This is my first time. Like, I've been to athletics before, obviously, and I've seen this before we went live. But this is my first time being on a show in the studio. So this is fun.
I like when you wheeled in here tonight and you're like, all right, so where are you going to be?
I was like, I didn't know.
And you're like, I think you were thinking, I'm going to be in the studio, but where's Mike going to be? And I'm like, we're going to be out here in this great big thing. We got 6 big screen TVs.
I popped in. I was watching in Kansas City, and I must have been watching the scoreboard show, and that was in my mind as memories.
Okay.
So I saw you there, and I was like, oh, I guess they do the Audible Call in here, and then they watch games out there. And I was like, how does that work? How are they? But no, out there was a great setup, and you have a lot of space out there. We're spread out. We're not in a little cubby hole with each other. And
I like that I have a wireless mic and I can kind of
yeah.
roam. And like everybody's got sets of games, and I can start peeking at games. And and the biggest thing too, though, we want our announcer crews. Yeah, we got to give them pub. And for us, it's about just guiding the show. It's not about being the show. And we want to get as many scores on as possible. We don't even count them anymore. It's just as many as possible. And if we see one that we think that the viewer should see, we don't mind rewinding it and calling it an Audible Call replay.
Yeah, we don't even.
It's worthy.
We may or may not tell you if it's a replay. We might take that credit to getting it live every now and then. But hey, that's what we're allowed to do. It's
for the most part
behind the curtain.
For the most part, they are live.
I know. Eric does a really good job catching it on the fly.
Eric deserves a Purple Heart, and I got to keep reminding myself that every game has a number attached to it.
Dealing with all of his shenanigans.
Yeah. So if you ever hear us, hey, 17 red zone, that just means, and tonight, for instance, game 17 tonight for us was Niles Alliance. It's
a lot of red zone.
Just the way it lined up, and it worked. And I got to get the guys saying Omaha. They've kind of gotten out of it.
Well, once we get Scotty back in here, he loves saying it, and Radar loves saying it. So
yeah,
they'll get us all energetic, and they'll let us say Omaha.
I'm still waiting for Scotty, some message from him to go, "Your Steelers stink, Mike." I know
they look pretty good. There's nothing to say.
Yeah. So, well, hey, we gave you the scores. We ran down through everything. Just want to let you know, in about 15 minutes or so, tune into Channel 21 WFMJ, our partner. They got one of the best things going. The Overtime Report. It's been on for years. I was part of it for years. Dana Balish, Brittany Bissell, the whole crew, they do a great job. So make sure you head on over there around 11 o'clock to WFMJ. Check out all the highlights they got. I'm sure, if memory serves me right, I believe we shoot anywhere from 18 to 21 games every Friday night. So
you're definitely 30? Year 30?
Year 30 for the Overtime Report. It's old. It's older than you.
I know. Well, almost.
So, but hey, we'll sign off. We're going to sign off tonight. We will be back with week 3 of the Audible Call and the Joe Dickey scoreboard next Friday night for you.
I got to figure out the snap of this mouse.
That sucks. Only one person chimed in. And it's a guy who had a loop.
See, I found it. It's right there. It's just completely frozen.
Did the battery die? No, the light's on.
I have to hit the reset button.
Did you hit anything on this board?
No, I don't think so.
Is there? I don't think there's anything that locks up. You're dying on me too.
I know, like the last 5 minutes of the show. Let's turn it off. Turn it back on. Let's see if that doesn't. Oh, that worked. Always